welcome. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to invite you to take a moment with me to remember our deployed military members who cannot be home like most of us can be. It is a cause that is near and dear to my husband's heart and therefore my own as well. And if you feel like it, take a moment with us. Enjoy your video. Bye-bye. Hey guys, happy Friday. TGIF, it is Fraud Law Review, but it's also Red Friday. So if anyone wants to join me today in giving a little extra thought and consideration and warm feelings to our deployed military members who can't be at home like we can, or most of us can, I should say. All right, so our Fraud Law Review article of the week is South Carolina. Aiken is the name of the town, Aiken. And let's see. This is a woman and she has been convicted. So I'm going to share her name because she no longer has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. In which case, as you know, I would not be saying her name out of respect for that very important due process right we have. And the person who is receiving the due process right, notwithstanding what happens later when they're convicted. Okay. In this case, her name is Cynthia Dolores Holland, age 61, of Aiken, South Carolina. Apparently, she was formerly the county director of voter registration and elections, and she was convicted of fraudulently obtaining Social Security benefits. She actually went to trial, apparently, and it was a day and a half long. According to this article, which, as you know, is by the Office of Inspector General of the SSA, the evidence obtained in the investigation showed that Ms. Holland improperly obtained her mother's retirement benefit from the SSA after her mother's death in 2013. Those benefits continued to be paid by mistake by the SSA. That wasn't a mistake by Ms. Holland, clearly, into a joint account held by Holland and her mother. Rather than notify the SSA of the error, and I'll speak to that in a second, Ms. Holland moved the money into her personal account and spent it. Her theft took place until December of 2022, so almost 10 years, guys, when the error was discovered by the SSA and the benefits were terminated. During that near decade-long span, they say Ms. Holland received over $168,000. Probably not someone you want running your elections, one way or another, and that would hopefully be a bipartisan thing, right? Regardless of what side of the fence Ms. Holland might have been on. About the part where it says, rather than notify the SSA of the error, I think because it was her bank account, she was on that, she had a greater duty of some sort. Normally, and we've discussed this before, there is no law, as far as I know, that anyone has to report anyone dead. Obviously, you're gross if you don't in some instances, but just saying, like when my father passed away, I called the SSA and I told them so that he didn't continue to get benefits. And that was a very long time ago. But in this case, I don't know because there was a joint bank account. And obviously her taking the money out of the bank account for herself, it was her undoing. I do wonder, however, if the money just came in and she never spent it, she only spent her portion of any monies that went in there, I wonder what would be the situation. I don't know that having a joint bank account with improper funds going into it creates an obligation for her to report it. And I'm just saying this because I love to try to figure out what's illegal and what's not when it's clearly stupid of her not to, but it doesn't mean that it was a legal obligation. I mean, for the same reason, well, what about the bank? Was it the bank's obligation? Not really. So very interesting. And as we've discussed before also, and I know there's videos on this, it is rather fragmented how people get reported deceased to the SSA. They're trying to really vamp up how vital statistics in a state, when they get report of a death, report it. And I think they have agreements with many states to have them report those deaths so that the files of the SSA can be properly updated and things like this don't occur. Because I will say what did they say she was, 61? What's the chance of Miss 61-year-old paying back the $168,000 that she probably most assuredly blew? They say that the discrepancy was identified in 2021 by the SSA during its death match project. As part of the project, the SSA requested death verifications from the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control going back to 2005, then compared those records with the list of SSA retirement beneficiaries. Holland's mother's name was on the list, which initiated the investigation. That's good to know that they were starting to do some sort of death match project. I know there was a big stink this last year or so because there's an extraordinary amount of active Social Security numbers on people that could clearly not be alive, like 120 years old, 150 years old. And I know that this year in 2025, they are actually doing the cleanup of that. But it does look like in some slow shape or form, the SSA was trying to get on top of that as much as 4 years ago. So I'll give them credit for trying. Obviously, they didn't succeed too well, but they did catch this one, so that's good. They say that Holland's actions, they're going to just go on about how deceptive she was. Yeah, we know. We don't need to have the blather about it. She does face a maximum penalty of 10 years in federal prison, as well as a fine of up to $250,000 and restitution. The fine and restitution are two different things, by the way, in case you were unaware. And 3 years of supervision to follow the term of imprisonment, assuming there is any. Something tells me there might not be. We'll find out. Well, we hope we find out. She will be sentenced by Judge Anderson after he receives and reviews a sentencing report prepared by the U.S. Probation Office. Well, alrighty. There you have it. The not so illustrious Cynthia Dolores Holland, age 61. Not a good luck there, Cynthia. Not a good luck. But, that's probably $168,000 from the SSA fund that will not be recouped. That's my guess. Because even if they take a little bit out of her own retirement benefits, they're going to leave her enough to live on. They're going to give her a payment plan, presumably, so that she can live and not be on the dole of the taxpayers any more than she was for the 10 years when she was stealing from them. So, you just got to know that these frauds, when money is taken, very often, I think they cannot be paid back. They won't be. So they need to be curbed and prevented, I say. A preventive measure is necessary. It's one of the reasons why the funds have the difficulties that they do staying solvent. There are many other reasons, of course, as well, but that certainly is one of them. All right, guys, TGIF, and I hope all of our deployed military members have a nice and peaceful weekend. Take care. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful, if not just a little bit informative. In the event you have a Social Security question you want addressed, please feel free to make a comment below and ask the question, even if nothing to do with this particular video. And just a quick, again, reminder, we have our daily video shares and tips around noon every day of the week. And on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our live Q&A session where you can come in live and enter your questions in the chat. And we all pretty much have a good time for an hour or two. I look forward to seeing you there, hopefully. And lastly, don't forget about our benefactor memberships. They're very reasonably priced. The first one is very nominal and you get a few perks, but on a bigger scale, it contributes to us being able to fulfill a mission of assisting certain people with representation that would otherwise not be able to get it. We look forward to continuing to do that. And so far it's working out like the bomb. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.